Good evening. I think we're live, and welcome to Yoga for Justice. This is the third one, talking about the relationship tonight between the idea of access to justice and what that is, and the holiday that we have coming up this weekend, Juneteenth, which many people have known about for a long time. I guess not all. But to begin our practice tonight, I wanted to, living in Mississippi means that we are dealing with really directly a lot of the roots of the systemic racism that exists throughout the United States today. I've talked a little bit about some of the access to justice in the world of criminal justice, and we're going to kind of expand on that tonight. We've had some, it's good news recently that, for one, the University of Mississippi campus is going to remove the statue of a Confederate soldier that sits in the very central heart of campus. And there was going to be a neo-Confederate group protesting in favor of our Confederate statue in the middle of town and the Confederate emblem that's part of the Mississippi state flag, because we have a lot of work and momentum behind changing the state flag. They were going to hold this demonstration of theirs on Juneteenth, which is one of just the most malicious and ugly kind of choices to make, just to make a point about your First Amendment rights. And there was enough pushback, apparently, from the community about this that I'm sure they will gather again sometime, all three of them. But at any rate, we're dealing with, again, that root level of work that we have to do in Mississippi. The symbols are a small piece of it. They can be really distracting from the sort of real justice that we have to do. There's a lot of real justice work to do in our court systems, in the structure of our laws, in housing, in environmental justice that are so much. And, these literally, it scratches the surface to deal with these statues, but they are a rallying point for the worst people around these topics. And it's taken decades of commitment and work that doesn't get recognized from people at the university and in this town to get to the point that we're at now. So to feel strong where we stand, to feel strong rooted in this place, Mississippi, there's people that'll tell you that somebody like me cannot possibly come from here. Somebody that would make these videos couldn't possibly be made here. Well, Mississippi made me too, and I'm not going anywhere. And neither are any of the people who are committed to this work, who are here with us all the time and connected. And so I want to get a little rooted down here before we start working on some of these obstacles. So get in a seat. And we're going to take a mudra. This is called Boo Mudra. And all you do is extend your peace fingers close together and take them down to the floor, just gently resting on the floor, breathing here. Full, deep breaths. Feeling your connection down to the earth. Your connection to place, your connection to the parts of this work that matter to you. And this earth that you're connected to is connected to me, is connected to every single other person who works in these areas, who stays frustrated and sad and angry a lot of the time. But we're not alone. So y'all continue to sit using Boo Mudra. If you get tired of it, you can just release your hands to the lap. But just breathing, feeling that connection, knowing we're not alone, knowing that this work is always being done. I'm going to read to you a declaration that my friend shared on Facebook from the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, who is really doing the work in a big way, in case you need any background on Juneteenth. And so it's a proclamation recognizing Juneteenth as a day of liberation for Black people nationwide. whereas Black people in this nation have existed in a space of double consciousness, and whereas Juneteenth is a celebration that commemorates the official ending of slavery in the Confederate States, and whereas on June 19th, 1865, Union soldiers traveled to the state of Texas with news that the Emancipation Proclamation, signed nearly 2 years earlier, granted freedom to Black people. And whereas no explanation exists as to why this delay occurred, the general sentiment was that those who wished to uphold the institution of slavery intentionally withheld the news to maintain a vestige of control. And whereas during this pivotal moment in history, Black people ceased being property and openly celebrated freedom. And whereas July 4th is the national recognition of the independence of this country, that was not true for Black people, and it was not true in the oppression of Black bodies. And whereas June 19th, 1865, Juneteenth, served as Liberation Day for Black people nationwide, we celebrate in solidarity with the spirits of our ancestors by collectively acknowledging their continued struggle and sacrifice. Now, therefore, I, Chokwe Antar Lumumba, Mayor of the city of Jackson, Mississippi, do proclaim Juneteenth as Liberation Day for Black people nationwide, and in recognition of that, it is important that we observe this day in reverence. Given under my hand and seal of the city of Jackson, Mississippi, June 19th, 2020, Chokwe Lumumba. And so to quickly roll back over that, after the Emancipation Proclamation and at the legal, on paper end of slavery, there were slaveholders who essentially knew that the enslaved people who worked for them were not able to access information, were unlikely to learn about the legal state of things, and who illegally continued to hold them as slaves and continue the status quo. So as much as Juneteenth is a celebration, the access to official freedom had to come with getting the information. Access to information and access to education are two of the main pieces of access to justice ever becoming real for anybody. And so we're going to be smashing some barriers today with a Ganesh pranayama. And this is a strong breath. So if you're still in Bhu Mudra, you can release that. And we're just going to warm up the shoulders and neck a little bit before we start breaking through the barriers to information and education that provide access to justice. Inhale, shrug the shoulders to the ears. And exhale, squeeze them down the back. Inhale, shrug. Exhale, squeeze them down. On an exhale, let your chin hang down to the chest and choose either direction to breathe a circle with your face in front, or with your chin in front of your face. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Let the chin hang down once more. We'll change directions, still inhaling up. Letting the chin hang down once more, and then lift back up level. We'll inhale the arms to reach high. Exhaling your left arm down and extending hip through fingertip on that right side. Inhaling out and exhaling the right arm down, extending through the left fingers. Inhaling out. And just taking 2 more of these to each side. rooted down through your seat, reaching and stretching. So we have to reach and stretch for any of our goals. And then here, we're going to interlace the hands over the head and take 10 breaths of this Ganesh pranayama. So Ganesh is an elephant, and he rampages and clears trees out of the way in the forest. And he is a remover of obstacles, remover of barriers. So removing the barriers to information, removing barriers to access to education, equal education. So taking a big breath in, it's a forceful exhale and then a chop down with the arm. So we'll do 10 of those. Big inhale. And releasing your hands, maybe rolling over the shoulders a little bit. And we'll come over to hands and knees, shoulders over, elbows over, wrists. Taking some cat-cow stretches, beginning by exhaling, rounding the belly up toward the ceiling. Inhale, open out, lifting the head and the heart. Exhale, rounding like a Halloween cat. Inhale, expanding the front of the body. Breathing, just moving with your breath, making space in the body. Maybe making space in the mind to believe that whatever the barriers are between anybody and justice, equal justice, justice for all, they can be overcome, they can be removed. Getting one more big full breath here, finishing on that big exhale. And we'll plant the hands, tuck the toes, find a plank, just lengthening out through the spine, point the tailbone back, squeeze the heels back, and then we'll lift through the belly, pressing back to downward facing dog. Heels relax, knees relax. Shoulders slide down the back. And we'll inhale, look between the hands. Exhale, walk the feet up to the top of the mat. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Sink the hips. Inhale up to stand. Exhaling, hands to heart. And turn around. So Juneteenth, officially the end of slavery and the news of the end of slavery actually being delivered. Access to the information comes through, but access to the ballot box is still not there. Access to the court systems is not there. So if you are wronged and you're seeking justice through the court system, there has to be, first of all, you have to be recognized as someone who the court can help. And second of all, there has to be a law on the books that has been violated, not just in the criminal system. So it's not just a criminal justice issue, it's a civil justice issue as well. We had a really good decision. We're going to talk pride next week. But for that, there was a really great decision in the world of the Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, which made it unlawful to discriminate against people based on their race, sex, national origin, color, or religion. Until that law was in place, though, which took a lot of work and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears on the streets of America to achieve that, there was not that access to justice. And I think there's confusion about what discrimination means. Not every type of discrimination is unlawful discrimination. Unlawful discrimination that you can carry to the court has to be defined in a piece of law. And so Title VII was a really important piece of removing a blockage from Black people, women, the people whose religions cause other people to want to discriminate against them for whatever reason. But again, removing that blockage to access. And so it's not complete. There's a lot of things in the way of that at-will employment, which we have in Mississippi, is one barrier to equal justice, even in that world of unlawful discrimination, because it makes it easier to discriminate without creating a provable claim. But I mean, that's in housing, in everywhere, that having that written down became really important. So we're going to bring our Ganesh Mudra into a different sequence here, coming up to the top of the mat. We'll inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, hinge and fold down, forward bend. Inhale, lift out halfway and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Plant your hand, step your right foot back, and we're going to come up to a warrior one. So place that right foot flat to the floor, not quite parallel to the long edge of the mat. Left foot is parallel. Squeezing the hips so that they're squared up. Tuck in the tailbone and let the arms reach up. Breathing here. Really working on that strong belly. This is about power. This is about believing that you have it. Rooting down through those feet. We'll take the left arm down and squeeze the shoulder back, making sure those hips are nice and square. And then bring your arms together. We'll take 5 Ganesh chops, clearing the way to the court system through the structure of the laws. Exhaling sharply as you chop down. Next time you bring those arms up, we'll exhale down to the floor. Step back for plank. Roll through knees, chest, chin, hugging in the elbows. Through for cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. Strong hands, knees and heels relaxed. Inhale, walk the feet up to the top of the mat, and I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb because some group text is dinging and dinging and dinging and making everything worse. So back at the top, hopefully with no more ding, ding, dings. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, hinge and fold down. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale the left foot back. Again, coming up, warrior one. Right hip reaches back. This pose is all about being placed exactly where you're supposed to be for a mission of transforming the space around you. So get there in your mind, taking some deep breaths, squeezing that right hip back, bending that knee. Hold on, hold that thought. Honestly, don't know what else to do about that sound, and I hope that it is not too ridiculous. So, warrior one, right knee bends, nice and squared up. 5 Ganesh exhalations. And we'll exhale, hands down, stepping back for plank. Rolling through. You can knees, chest, chin, or you can low plank into upward dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog.
And we'll inhale, look between the hands. Exhale, walk the feet up to the top of the mat. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Sink the hips. Inhale all the way to standing. Exhaling, hands to heart. Breathing here. And so even when you get the form of the laws right, as I was mentioning, you can still end up with unreasonable barriers to equal justice. One of the issues with the Confederate monument on the square in Oxford is that it is literally on the sidewalk, in the center of the sidewalk that you walk on to get to the circuit court. So whether you are being brought in as part of the criminal justice system or whether you need to seek justice from your court system, if you are a Black person, there is a literal Confederate soldier guarding the Hall of Justice from you. It refers to, in a carving on it, the Civil War as a just and holy cause. And it's been just repeated and ongoing failure of leadership to never come up with a plan for what to do with this thing. It draws the Klan to our campus and to our town, and other neo-Confederate groups to our campus and to our town, not just for their own protests, but to come and observe any type of peace and unity type of protest where they take pictures and try to figure out who people are. And these things are just not good for the community in general. And it also just contributes to the ongoing cultural problem that we have in, it's not just in the South by far, but it just is in a certain way in the South that, we're here and we have to deal with. So they're being moved, they're not being taken down into rubble, which is it's pretty traditional from the Roman times, right? To smash the heads and arms off of the statues of your enemies' dead gods. So that's not without precedent at all in the United States even. So they are not going to be destroyed. Our communities, our campus community is going to go through quite an expensive process to get the thing moved, but it will at least not be prominent in the center of campus. So what I do want to do, though, is spend this time in this sequence envisioning those spaces free from those monuments, envisioning a flag for the state of Mississippi that does not have the flag of the Army of Northern Virginia stamped on it, and understanding that can be made real. So whatever kinds of disbelief I even have that I need to confront, facing these images and these pieces that keep this just nasty piece of the culture going, we're going to break those down. We're going to inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, hinge and fold. Inhale, lift out and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale your left foot back, and we're going to come up to warrior two. So your right foot is parallel to the long edge, left foot parallel to the short edge. You want a little T-shaped intersection and really sink into that right leg. I keep having to move this drum. This is in a weird place. Tucking the tailbone down, extending through the hands, gaze out over your right hand. And whatever that obstacle is in your world, whether you're in Oxford and it's these ones that I'm thinking of, or whether it's any other type of obstacle, see in your mind that it is changed. Envision the space without it there, without it contributing to the ongoing harm to our communities. And we'll straighten the legs. Come into goddess pose, tucking the tailbone down, sinking into the hips, easing the knees out over the legs. Arms come up into goalpost arms, because honestly, it's going to take some feminine energy to birth some new vision and some new ways to use these spaces. So let's get this mudra, or not this mudra, this pranayama. Arms up, arms interlaced, and 5 exhales, sharply and chopping. Sink into the hips. Firm and rooted. And we'll press in, just turn the feet. So right foot goes parallel to the short edge, left foot parallel to the long edge. Tuck the tailbone, reach through the hands. Once again, gazing out over your left fingertips, seeing that difference, seeing that future changed space, whether it's a space in your mind or heart or someone else's mind or heart, whether it's a physical space, whether it's connecting to an ancestor's vision of what this space could look like. And then we'll press into that left foot, coming back to goddess pose. I don't know about y'all, I'm busting down some statues today. Sinking it down, interlace the hands, bring them over the head. 5, obstacle clearing exhales. And we're going to windmill down around that left foot, step back for plank, rolling through that transition, and exhaling, downward facing dog. Breathing here, letting heels relax, letting knees relax, lifting through your belly, aiming your heart toward the thighs. And we'll take the knees down, coming into child's pose, sinking hips over heels. Rest your forehead. Breathing here. Maybe the arms come along the side. And we'll be here for a minute. So just let this be a safe and restful place. I know a good many white parents who are working hard to have productive conversations with their kids about race and racism and equal justice and these issues. And, you know, some of it's going kind of awkwardly. That is not a thing that most, at least families of people my age who were white, did very much of. And it's really, really important because I know that, you know, I didn't understand why we call some people white and some people black, because that's not what anybody's skin looks like. When I was a little kid, you know, being confused by that. And there's several parents now that I know whose kids have been sort of confused about that too. And then just trying to get a grasp on it, because their minds are open, their hearts are open in ways that many adult hearts and minds are not. And so it takes all of this, you know, trying to explain these super irrational things. And so get into your mind being someone who's open, who has the space to just truly be beyond understanding this culture that we are trained into from childhood. You know, back to the time when, you know, if you drew people with a box of crayons, you knew you didn't draw your black classmate with a black crayon. You knew you didn't draw your white classmate with a white crayon. And so just trying to cultivate that openness, having smashed down whatever monuments and barriers you've been working on thus far. And then we're going to plant the hands, tuck the toes, lift the hips to downward dog. Meeting in this downward facing dog, let the heels relax. We'll inhale to right heel high, three-legged dog. Bend the knee, open the hip, pressing your chest towards your left thigh. Your weight's about even in your hands. And just move your hip in some circles here. And we'll exhale, turn in the hip and toe towards the floor, swing it through between the hands, plant it down, and we're going to take this right hand and move it to the inside of the left foot for a lizard pose. So this is one, it's to open up the hip, making space, and you can invent whatever kind of lizard pose you want to, just like we can remake the world. So you can take your left knee down if you want to. You can keep it lifted if you want to. You can keep this right foot flat, or you can lift your toes and let your knee hang over to the side. You can stay in your hands, or you can come down to your forearms. You do any combination of those things that you want. Breathing here. If there's anything you have that needs to go in the inside, exhale it out with a big sigh. Or maybe your lizard is a dragon and you're clearing the way with some flame breaths. And then we'll bring the hands back up, coming back up, wiggle that foot over, step to your plank, roll through the transition of your choice, and exhale, downward facing dog. Shoulders sliding down the back away from the ears, heels and knees relaxed. We'll inhale the left heel high to the sky, bend the knee, open the hip, pressing the chest towards that right leg, and then choosing just a few hip circles each direction. Loosening up. And on an exhale, we'll turn the hip and toe towards the floor, swing it through, move that left hand to the inside of your left foot. And again, invent the lizard pose that is right for you. There's no obstacle between you and whatever kind of lizard you can make here. So that right knee can come down or it can stay up. Left toes can stay flat, or you can lift them up, hang them to the side, and stay in your hands or come to forearms. Taking some sighs out the mouth to release or let out some steam or some flames. We'll walk the hands back out. Take that left foot flat. If you've had it squeezed over, take it back for plank. Roll through the transition of your choice. Exhale to downward facing dog. Breathing here. Shoulders sliding down the back. And we'll inhale, look up between the hands. Exhale, walk the feet up. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Stake the hips. Inhale all the way to standing. And exhale, hands to heart. And breathing here. We'll find a little tree pose because we're trying to cultivate healthy society, equal access to justice for everyone, structures of laws that can produce just outcomes for everyone, and maybe thinking of whatever work we do as seeds. You know, we stand on the shoulders of the people who came before us, who have been committed to this work, who didn't necessarily get to see results or live to see results. We are the growth out from them, and then what might grow from us. So sinking into this right foot, and you can take your left foot and either prop the toe up on the floor and stay here close to the floor, or you can place your foot either below the knee or all the way above the knee, just not on the knee joint itself. Breathe in here. Drawing up through the roots of this past and all the people's commitment to justice that have come before. And maybe imagining wide open sunshine, nothing blocking this tree's growth. Maybe you can have some branches. Strong and tall, bending, not breaking. Extending all the way to the sky. And we'll release that down, coming on down. Maybe rocking a little bit. Coming over into the left foot. Growing up from a seed somebody else left. You can prop that right foot on the floor, or you can take it to the calf, or you can take it to the thigh. Breathing here. Growing up from that seed, from that connected root system. Nothing in your way. Extending the arms high. I like to have my hands out like little spindle branches when I do that, although I know you can't see it. Breathing. And if you have to move somewhere else or get out of the way, let that make way for light for somebody else to grow behind you. And we'll take the hands down, coming on down. And so we're going to come down to the floor. This pose is cow face pose. I like it because you can do some eagle arms with it. It's a nice rooting pose and hip opening pose. So what you want to do is actually the couple of ways to go. You can get up on your knees and cross one leg all the way behind the other and then walk back and sit behind your knees, or I've got right foot or right knee on top. You can rock back and cross your legs and rock forward. Either way is fine. I like to lift the hips and then reset them. And the further your feet are out away from your hips, the deeper the stretch you're going to feel. The closer they are into your sides, the less intense that stretch is going to happen. So just getting yourself situated here, sitting up tall. Letting that left hip open up, feeling rooted. And then we'll take the arms up. You're going to cross your left arm on top of the right. And you can come either heels or backs of the hands, or come palm to palm, pressing, opening the backs of the shoulders, breathing. Feeling like one of these nice viney plants that we have in Mississippi. Rooting and winding your way up. And we'll unwind the hands. And with the idea that we are going to turn it all around because there's nothing in our way. I mean, you can just rock out and switch your feet, but the fun way to do it and the way to, again, we're going to turn it all around. You're going to turn to the inside of your top leg. So you're going to turn towards your left. Plant your feet right where they are. Don't be moved. And go all the way around. Now your left knee is on top. So figure out how you want to get your feet situated that's comfortable in your hips, comfortable enough anyway. Sitting up tall here. Rooting down. And this time we'll take the right arm on top of the left, Squeezing the elbows together, either coming to the heels of the hand, or backs of the hands, or palm to palm. Breathing here. Letting that connection in the root draw up through these hands. Up through the crown of the head. And then releasing. And we'll just rock back. Come into a seat for a few minutes of just silent meditation. What I've been doing in several classes this week, the Padma Mudra, gesture of the lotus. And so for this, you take your palms of the hands together, keep your pinky fingers and your thumbs connected, and then you open your index, middle, and ring fingers and make a little cup. And this is like a blossoming lotus, and you hold it at your heart. Breathing here. And this is a receptive posture about manifesting our intentions, about taking ideas from our mind and making them real on the ground. It took decades of people drawing this idea down that we can take this statue away from the center of campus to actually get it done. And so connecting to an idea of an obstacle that you want to remove in the path to access to justice, whether it's access to information and education, whether it's access through the structures of the laws to the court systems, whether it's access through the obstacles in our culture and our symbols. Draw down the strength to do the work to make these things real. If you want to fully close your hands, you can. And I'm going to close us with the sound of 3 ohms. This is the sound of the universal consciousness, the vibration that connects everything in the universe from my heart to yours. Om Shanti. Namaste. My chants have become cat summoning spells in my house. So for donation ideas, we've talked about Equal Justice Initiative. We've talked about Innocence Project in the criminal justice world. And what I want to do tonight is
first of all, encourage you to find out if you have any local Juneteenth celebrations or activities going on. I'm going to post a link to Oxford's, and I saw another one that there was a virtual event somewhere in North Carolina, I believe, that looked pretty good, especially if you don't have anything local. In addition to that, the United Negro College Fund and the NAACP. I hope y'all have a wonderful night. Wish us luck here in Oxford Town.